Welcome to the Dom Sub Devotion Podcast.
Every episode of Dom Sub Devotion shares the lessons learned from our experience of love, devotion, and desire inside of our 24/7 Dom Sub marriage.
We've found that dominance and submission is more than just a kink. For us, it's been a path to deep intimacy and desire that lasts over the long term. We share our experience through this podcast to be the example that we didn't have when we started down this path, and to help you find your way to a dynamic that works in your real life.
You can learn more about us and our courses and offerings in the show notes and at infinitedevotion.com. Thank you for listening.
Welcome to Dom Sub Devotion. My name is Andrew, and for those of you who are watching on video or who heard the laugh that wasn't mine on the audio, I've got my friend Eric from the Conscious Dominance podcast back in the mix and in the fold with me today. Eric, it is so damn good to see your face again.
It's good to be here too. It's been a moment since we've even chatted, so I love that we get to do this live and share this with your community and mine. So appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we used to have these chats every single week, and we did that when we were doing the Conscious Dominance podcast together every week for a long time. And we were talking before that podcast even started every week for quite a while. And so, yeah, it has been a little bit. And I wanted to have you back on here so you and I could catch up, and so my audience could hear what you've been up to and what's going on with you. And I don't even know some of it, so I'll get to learn right along with them. So how are you, Eric, and what's been going on with you?
Oh, it's been good. I mean, I feel like the whole journey of doing this podcast with you and then continuing that without you and doing it on my own has been a real transformation for me. I was able to get on some other podcasts and was able to just have my own experience. Having my own weekly podcast has been it holds yourself accountable in a way that like nothing else when you have to publicly put yourself out there. And the evolution of the conscious dominance brand and then moving into a DSRX and kind of finding our own niche with that, with Rachel and I, and bringing her more and more out into the public, really owning her submissiveness publicly, her sluttiness, her just who she is as a woman, and owning that and sharing that, and her voice has been, I think, an important part of this. I also, just in our own personal life, there's been some real changes there that have really shifted to allow for me to be um, more and more in a leadership position, more and more in owning our life and what we're doing. So yeah, I would say there's just a continuation and continuing progress. I think the last time we chatted, I actually was going through some really challenging times and was bringing up a lot of stuff. And I think that anytime you're committed to something where you have uh, a certain ethic, a certain way that you want to be, it holds you accountable in a way that there's always a gap between your ideal and then where you are. And there are going to be times when you're face to face with um, things that overwhelm or that where there is a collapse or there is something that's a challenging times. And coming through those and coming on the other side of that, I do feel much stronger, much better. I always feel like, can you learn from those times? Can they be more clarifying and not knock you sideways, but continue to be able to strengthen? And I mean, I feel like that's my whole ethos is, can we learn from not only especially the times that are the hardest times, especially the times in parts of ourselves where we feel weak or we feel off, not to run away from those times, but to really lean into those.
Yeah, it's kind of the how good can it get philosophy that I know you and I have talked about. I've talked about a lot myself and with Dawn, is the whole philosophy or ethos, as you said, of like it's it's not about, did I make a mistake? Did I fuck up? Did, like, getting down on ourselves when something doesn't go right. It's just like, okay, here's an opportunity to be better. And if I always desire to be my best, if I always desire to be better in whatever way that I can be better, then for me, that's saying, how good can this get? It's how good can I get? How strong can I be? Every time
Hmm.
I fall down, it's like, okay, there's some evidence of a place where I am not solid.
Hmm.
And I can either project that out onto to the person who helped me see that and blame it on them. I can blame myself, but that's still, like, that's all that world of blame and comparison.
Hmm.
Just see it for what it is, and recognize, hey, there's a place that, if I'm willing to see what I need to see, I can be better than I am. And if I can be
Hmm.
better than I am, then I get to be better.
Hmm.
And that's everything to me.
It is. And I feel like, I think since we've chatted, one of the most powerful things for me has been I've gotten a couple clients, coaching clients, and being able to share with them, working with them, and it, because I've been there, because I've gone through what they've gone through, because I'm someone who's really worked on myself and changed and had these really tough situations and then come out of it because I've been in very depolarized, vanilla, crappy relationships and really transform my relationships. And even the current one has never been what I would consider vanilla or crappy, but it's definitely been where I've had to do a lot of work on myself. And when you're able to be an example and then share it and help other people, there's nothing better. I mean, I find that to be so rewarding to be able to really be there for other men, to hold them, to see them and witness them and connect with them, and then to support them in their becoming even better versions of themselves and to lead in their own lives. So that's been a very powerful experience.
Yeah, and
Continues to be.
you mentioned the weekly commitment of doing, like, having to show up for this every week. And just, as of when we're recording this, yesterday was when Dawn and I released our episode 100. So
Wow.
100 straight weeks. And you think about everything that goes into, and this now, like, everything
Hmm.
that goes into recording a podcast, getting it edited, getting the file put together, uploaded onto YouTube, onto the audio platforms, the show notes written, the email written. Now I do a blog post with every episode. Like,
Hmm.
everything that goes into that every single week is, it's a lot. And it's important, I think, for me, and I'm curious if you've had this experience too, to pause every once in a while and just be proud of yourself.
Definitely. I mean, definitely. I mean, normally my operation, I can be a little too hard on myself, and I think definitely is to pause, look back, reflect, be proud, yes, but also just recognize, just like anything, when the compound effect is powerful, and that you're doing this little bit, little bit, little bit, and then every once in a while these little exponential jumps that you feel like there's some momentum or some flow that kind of moves you forward. And it's the same with the relationship too. I feel like when you commit to a way of being and to a lifestyle, it can get better and better. This whole notion I think that you're built upon with your relationship is as good as it gets, as good as it gets. Can it get even better? And I know that you've gone through some transformation in your relationship and publicly, and there's been a whole evolution there. And I find for Rachel and I too, it's super powerful to be committed to a dynamic that offers this. It is the soil, this regenerative quality that it's transformational. Like it creates a situation that when everything's in its right place, we can create situations or and scenes that really I create these situations and scenes that can be so dynamic and so powerful and so much better than even anything that's even happened before when the situation affords that. Like when you have a lifestyle where you're like, all you need to do is that it's waiting for you to have an incredible life because you've done all the foundational work to make that life possible. And that's been really my journey is saying, hey, what can I do to take care of all of the foundations? You know, Om talks about the masculine being the lower chakras, right? And another way of saying this is the masculine there to provide all of the basic necessities, everything that's there. And if we are completely have that under our purvey, then we can create these creative situations that are really dynamic. And you have a woman that's there willing and ready to do whatever you dream up and think up. It's an incredible opportunity. And it exceeds my expectations and what I even think is possible. And it's what you think it's often that it's about the sex and all this other stuff, but by far most of it's just about doing the work on yourself and the work in the material world so that when these situations arise for you to create something, it it overflows with possibility. It overflows, and she's in an overflow energy, and she's not in some sort of like obligation energy, but she's in an overflow energy. It's super powerful. And we've had some of these experiences of late that have been something just really magical and really beautiful. And I guess it's really to just put it in a nutshell, it's a testament to long-term commitment. I think what you and I both share is a long-term commitment to a woman and to a way of being that's not every once in a while. It's our life. And the fruits of that are incredible if you do the fucking work.
Yeah, it's the difference between devotion and obligation,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to say, well, I've made a commitment, and then you just feel like you have to grip and force
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
But that's not actually being devoted to the relationship. Like, the only damn spiritual practice that any man needs is to really go all in with one woman.
It's so true.
Because I see and I coach some guys, some single guys who have, like, they're looking for something that they can't find. And they try to devote themselves to a meditation practice. They try to devote themselves to the gym, and they're trying to, like, they're seeking something.
Hmm.
Like, if you really devote yourself to one woman, to one relationship,
Hmm.
let that break you open.
Hmm.
That's a spiritual practice that never goes away.
Fucking true.
You don't have to try to meditate until you find all of your limitations, and she'll just point them out to you.
Yep.
And she'll point them out to you by the ways that you get upset by the things that she says to you. Like, oh,
Hmm.
it's one of the things that I've heard Peter Crone say. I've used this quote quite a few times on the podcast, that life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal to you where you're not free.
Hmm.
And that is what a devoted relationship will do, is
Hmm.
like, you don't ever get to escape
Hmm. And
the.
you got to bring all of you to it.
Mhm. Yeah, and that mirror is just always there, and it's
Hmm.
always showing you yourself, and you can't get away from it. You can't escape it. And the tendency will be, for a lot of men, this is why I think men shy away from commitment and think that they're going to be more free by being outside of the container of devotion or commitment,
Hmm.
is they think that they are going to be able to be more free, but they're really just avoiding everything, all of the discomfort that would show them exactly where they are stuck in ego, where they're stuck in limitation, where they're stuck in the world of internal constraint.
Hmm.
It allows them to continue to live in fear. and
Hmm.
in self-protection. But you don't need to meditate 8 hours a day to find enlightenment. Just open yourself up to a woman and let her see all of you, and then
Hmm.
watch all the places that you collapse and fall apart.
Hmm. So true. And so true. And it's vital too that in that I feel like how it really functions is something that you and I share, which is a commitment not only to another woman, but to a woman that's committed to you and that's committed to polarity, because it's in that that the work becomes your own work. I think too often men are committed to a woman or they think they're committed, but they're committed to a they're never able to really fully bring themselves there because they never really fully have to take full responsibility for themselves in it because they're always partially navigating, and it's something that we used to talk a lot about, but they're negotiating, they're compromising, they're in a like a maelstrom of kind of it's fine, mediocrity, not bringing all of them to the relationship. So they're not bringing their kinkiness, they're not bringing their desires, they're not bringing their strength or their voice or their power and their completeness to that. And so even though they think they're committed just because they're not cheating on their woman, they still have one portion of them or a big portion of them that's not fully there and fully present. And so because of that, they're not able to fully transform. It's one thing to just be committed in a kind of basic kind of like you said kindergarten level of commitment, but it's quite another to bring your the fullness of your being, the fullness of your power, the fullness of your strength, of your voice, of your cock, of your aspiration, of like every fucking part of you owning that woman, but it's owning her in a way where you're saying, not only is she my responsibility, but it's my responsibility to bring all of me into this and to be devoted to this and to alchemize myself in that so that as her voice and as she rises, because she will, how do I do this in a way where I'm not making her smaller so that I feel more comfortable? How do I encourage and feed her spiritually, nourish her in every which way so that she grows and blossoms and becomes more and more herself and more of a voice and more sexual. And what's going to happen is she's going to poke out more and more of the ways that you're falling short. It's just by nature what the feminine will do. And your capacity to work through that and hold that, you've just created a relationship dynamic that's going to be an alchemizing force of self growth and transformation. And there is nothing better than that. And it is, as you know, it's a daily fucking practice. And following her cycle, there's always a different energy, always something to learn, always something to track, always part of you, part of her that's alive to the moment and that can transcend this like sort of mediocre life. There's just always something more that can be brought into it. And it's like it's dependent on our capacity to tune into ourself and our turn on, which scares most guys to fucking they're like so scared to bring their arousal and their turn on to the relationship because they feel like it will burn it down. Well, that's the point. Bring that power to the relationship. It's like a fight. Like you got to bring it there and then learn how to learn the craft of how not to destroy yourself or her in that.
Yeah, that I think that's the most brilliant piece of what you said is when like we all have things that we're afraid to bring into the relationship. Men have them, women have them. It's like these pieces of ourselves are that we feel shame around. And it doesn't feel like there's a part of us that feels like in every relationship across the board, people are going to feel like there's something about me that is not welcome in this relationship. And it's a choice that we have to make to either stuff that
Hmm.
and pay the consequences, because when we stuff a part of ourselves that's real, we're turning the fire of that energy inward, and it's going to
Hmm.
burn us down to the ground.
Hmm.
If she has desires that she can't bring forth into the relationship, and she has to stuff them, well, now that fire, that energy is held inside of her. A cap is put on it, and that fire is just burning her aliveness to the ground. Same thing happens with us as men. We're
Hmm.
afraid of being rejected. We're afraid of being denied. We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of being left.
Hmm.
So we just take these things about ourselves that might feel very true, that might feel very real. There might be a ton of excitement and energy around kink, around a desire, around whatever it is. But there's this resignation that comes along with the feeling like I can't be all of me in this relationship. If you accept that premise, you're accepting, essentially, you're accepting your own self-immolation, that your only option is to burn from the inside out.
Hmm.
That's where we get so many people who, like, you see them and they just look depressed, they look down, they look sad. Well, I've been walking a ton lately. I've kind of been trying to do the 10, 12,000 steps a day thing, and paying attention to the energy of other people as I walk past them. How many men I see staring down? They won't look me in the eye. They won't look forward. Like, they're just looking at their shoes.
Hmm.
You can just feel the amount of their own aliveness that they've turned inward and burned their own soul to the ground. And it's
Hmm.
and it's sad because it feel like, to them, it feels like that's the only option.
Hmm.
It's not. You just have to
Yeah.
you have to it takes a lot of trust to say that this is me, this is all of me, this is what feels real to me, and to bring that into the relationship when it feels as though that is going to destroy her.
That's the risk you have to take.
You have to take it. If you don't take it,
Hmm.
you are going to die from the inside out.
Hmm. And you won't be able to be in all of your power. And the power really is in your capacity to not freak the fuck out and collapse when she brings up, ultimately that's the truest power. That's the real power. Is can we stand in our above the line? Can we stand in our conscious awareness and presence without reacting, without collapsing? And that's whether or not it's a comment, but it also can very much be her rejection of something that we want to do, something that we're interested in, some passion that we want, and she's got a rejection. Rachel says something that's really powerful, that she's never a no. She's always a not right now kind of person, or not in this situation kind of person, and it's not even so much that, it's more of her energy that I've learned to just read. And it's such a powerful experience for me to be all in with someone who's also all in, because what's come online for me in a big, big way since last we've talked is just pure reading of her nonverbal energy and her body. And it is, it's like the next thing that got unlocked when I, for the longest, the first part of our relationship, so much of it was what I was dealing with my reactivity. And we talked a lot about that. And as that's become something where it's less and less of an issue, what's left for me then is my pure presence and my capacity to just be in an energy that just holds her. And so then all that's left really, because she's a fuck yes, but with a nuance, and she doesn't say it with her words anymore. It's all just in her body, whether whatever it is during the day, and just being able to really read her energy and be more telepathic, whether we're in public or wherever we are. It's been a whole new part of this relationship that's really been very powerful for me. And it's it's like energy. I don't know how to say it. The language of energy sucks. And it's like the language of spirituality sucks because whatever modality that you're into, you like yours, but you don't like other people's version of it. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're a religious person, you like the language of the religion. If you're somebody from like New Age, you like the New Age version. So, I'm going to use language that might put some people off because I come from a cross-pollinating world. But I will just say there is definitely things happening that we can't put language to that's communicated between people. And when you're able to really hold that energy and being able to communicate that energy and dominate and lead that energy, to me, that is really where you start stepping into a sexuality and a scenes and a vitality in the relationship that transcends just sex in the bedroom and any sort of sexual scene. It becomes something that you start playing with all the fucking time. Like any interaction becomes an opportunity for just ownership, like pure fucking owning, pure fucking, yeah, dominating when you want to say that word, but it's just a transference. It's like Rachel has these scenes from movies that she loves where just she loves like men in movies that are very dominant classically, like because she's a sub through and through, and she calls it the lean. A certain guy just kind of leaning in energetically, but even physically in that. But like being able to really own that lean energetically, own that ownership just through a look, through a way of being, that is the result of getting out of your trigger. That is the result of not being threatened by her voice. It is the result of her feeling like you can really hold her in her volume and all of that. It's a powerful fucking energy. The stronger she gets, weirdly enough, the more surrendered and submissive she gets. I don't know how to explain it. I know you know what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah, you're right that the language sucks. And it especially sucks from the feminine side, from the submissive side, wanting to express their experience because it's all a felt sense body experience.
yeah.
And it makes sense why, when you look historically, why aren't women sharing their spiritual awakening stories? Like why are there so few spiritual awakening, nirvana, enlightenment stories from women? It,
Hmm.
because they can't be put into words. They're felt.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's a felt sense bodily experience.
Yeah.
And you can't put words into that. This is what really led to Dawn pulling back from the podcast back in January when we were doing it together every week up until then. Trying to put it into words was taking her out of the experience.
Right.
And that just wasn't a tenable solution anymore. It wasn't workable in her life.
Hmm.
And she stopped trying to talk about it all the time. And we've had our own challenges with unwinding our pattern of over talking and over
Yeah.
communicating, because even that is a problem.
Right.
But, you said something also really powerful that I don't want people to miss. And that's like when you bring something into the relationship and she's a no or she rejects it, almost all of the time, her rejection is not a rejection of what you brought. It's a mirror of your own internal discomfort with what you're bringing. She,
Hmm.
she, most women, when you are in this kind of a devoted, committed relationship, most women are a fuck yes to anything that you are completely grounded and comfortable in.
Well said. So true. So true.
And so her rejection is really usually a mirror of your own self abandonment. It's a mirror of your own self rejection. It's a mirror to you of where you have shame and fear and where you're not clean yet with what
Hmm.
it is you're trying to bring into the relationship. And it feels like she's rejecting me. No, she's showing me where I'm rejecting me.
No, I see that. Our relationship has really taken a turn in a more kind of interesting, fun, kinky kind of way that's really dynamic, something that we've talked a lot about throughout our relationship, but never really put into play. And now we are. And it's just because I was ready for it. I had to work through a lot of my own shit, my own insecurities, my own challenges. And every time that it was brought up before, she could feel that I was off. And so she wasn't a fuck yes. And it's so true what you're saying. I don't think like what you're saying there is such a powerful revolutionary thing that I don't think we could say it enough. And it's all an inside job on the Dom's work. Like it's 100% our inside working on our inside because as soon as that's lined up, whatever we want to do on the outside, she's like, game on. If we're lined up, if she feels that.
Her, yeah, because the other side of that, the flip side of that is her fuck yes is a
Yeah.
reflection of your groundedness, your
Yeah.
self acceptance, your belief in the rightness of whatever it is you want to bring to her, whatever it is you
Hmm.
want to do with her, to her, for her.
Hmm.
If that's clean in you, her fuck yes is going to reflect that. Now, are there things that are just like she, or just maybe aren't her thing?
Hmm. Yeah.
Are there are things that aren't just that are just not my thing? Sure.
Hmm.
But I've noticed a really distinct difference, and people like need to hear this, that if you are bringing something and you're like, I want to try this, and there's a fuck no, that's usually a mirror of there's fuck yes energy also in that.
Hmm.
It's maybe one of the most important things for you to experience together, but there's unclean energy in it, and that's why it's caught, like the trigger is there, and she might be unclean with it, I might be unclean with it. That's really our job as the masculine to see, as the dominant, to see what is not aligned here, what's out of alignment, and how can I lead us into alignment. Because time and time again, all of the things that have been the biggest fuck no's have been the most revelatory, opening, spirit-led experiences that we've had.
Hmm.
Things that are the things that like I might bring to her and she's just like, yeah, I just can't get into that.
Hmm.
That's to me, that's an authentic no. It's like, no, just there's nothing there. There's no energy there.
Hmm.
When there's big no energy, there's also usually almost exclusively, probably 100% of the time in my experience, there's big fuck yes energy, but just not like it's something's not clean.
Hmm. Hmm. It's true. It is true. And I think it's really fun to something that Rachel and I do a lot of is storytelling or, creating a scenario. So that's a great way to kind of explore different things through language, through creative language. It's and mind play
Mhm.
and really not necessarily needing anything other than just the way that we language. And I think the experience of that for me has really brought up for me where my hiccups are. In some ways I do better through action and just activity and not thinking and not talking. And I've really had to learn. It's brought up with the talking part, like with the podcast, has really clarified where I'm feeling vulnerable. It brings up your vulnerabilities like viscerally when you start. I can feel it in my languaging and my talking, or and she can feel it when I sort of drop or whatever it is. And that's being more and more attuned to that. It's been a really powerful experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on a more personal level, I want to hear a little bit more about what's going on with your life. First of all, anybody who was listening back when we did these every week knows that you went through some real shit with a surfing injury. And
Oh yeah.
um trying to be a badass on the waves like you were when you were a kid and realized you weren't as young as you used to be. Uh,
No,
how's the shoulder and how's that recovery gone?
it's been transformational. I feel like the shoulder injury, looking back at that, has been one of the more powerful experiences for me. I really had to see my mortality slow down. Rachel really had to take over a lot of things. I wasn't able to work. I also do construction work, and so I wasn't able to do that work for a long time, and that was really debilitating. It was hard. There were a lot of things about the whole situation that was very challenging and humbling, and really being. I think you know this too from as you get older, you know, not being afraid of the parts of ourselves that we think of as the vulnerable side or the weaker side or the sensitive side. Or I think too often men, especially men that identify as dominant or as strong or whatever, there can be a tendency to just like completely um, override that part of ourself. And for me, one of the most transformational parts of this, and it's really a practice that I've really gained, is being befriending my vulnerability, my grief, my anger, my sadness, to allow myself to feel these feelings fully and to hold myself in there. And ironically, as I do that, I'm less reactive. And I find that my reactivity was really just me avoiding feeling vulnerable and avoiding the vulnerability that was already there. And if I allowed myself to just be in my body and feel the vulnerability, it had a beautiful way of transforming into strength. It's almost like we're afraid to look weak, even though we are weak in some moment. But if we could just own our weakness or fully feel that weakness, it has a way of becoming strength. And so, ironically, the way towards inner dominance or inner peace or inner strength is actually by being fully present and connected with the parts of ourselves that are fully vulnerable or the parts that are weaker. And that's another way of saying that is like our inner child or our inner, I think that's actually what a lot of spiritual work is to me is befriending or learning self-acceptance, self-love. And that shoulder injury was just an incredible vehicle for that. It was transformational in that. And so Rachel's also said something really powerful. She's like, you no longer have a dominant hand. I had to do everything with my left hand and arm. And so I become much more ambidextrous. And I think energetically, I'm more connected with the parts of myself that are, you could say, feminine or the more vulnerable sides, and able to integrate that and has a interesting way of kind of deepening my strength. So when you ask that question, I think that's a lot of what came from that. And then there's been that experience led to some big transformation in our personal life too. That's been really positive as well. So
And so how's it feeling now?
that's great. The shoulder's great. Like I'm good. I had a great treat. I had a great, um, we got treatment on it in January. It's healed up great. I'm in a much, much, much better place. It's all good. So like, I feel great. Like I really do. Yeah, I still ice it and I take some stuff for it every once in a while, but it's I'm better than I was before the injury.
So back out on the wave this winter?
Probably it'll be a moment, but yeah, maybe March, get back in the ocean. But
Maybe
I
just
gotta get better in shape. I'm not in good shape right now. I'm out of shape.
maybe start on the smaller waves instead of trying
Yeah,
the biggest one.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I gotta get back in shape, but that process is always fun. Get in shape. Yeah.
We most people spend most of their lives just in avoidance.
Yeah.
And we avoid the thing that we need the most. Like That's the whole challenge, I think, of awakening and really being alive, really being conscious of ourselves and of our actions and our thoughts and our experience. A lot of people like to think that they're conscious, but then they live their whole life avoiding
Hmm.
pain. They live their whole life avoiding fear.
Hmm.
And whatever you have to avoid controls you.
Hmm.
It's in absolute control of you. And so you're absolutely right that we have to be with the parts of ourselves that we disapprove of the most,
Hmm.
to allow space for the things that we think we don't want.
Hmm.
And it is ironic. It's 100% ironic. It doesn't seem like it makes any sense until you've been through it and you realize, like you said, all of my reactivity was just avoiding vulnerability
Hmm.
because you were afraid.
Hmm.
I did a whole podcast episode on this one last month. It was all about how fear, like, you can't even consent for real in a DS dynamic when you're operating from fear, because does your yes really mean yes, or does it mean I'm afraid of saying no? Does it mean I'm afraid you're going to abandon me? Does it mean like it? There's so much to that real awareness of where we're avoiding reality.
So true. And you get, when you start doing this too, you're less and less needing to prove your power or prove your strength. You don't need to show her or anyone that, hey, I'm a man or I can do this or I'm in the strength. But more I work from more of a place of arousal, like more turn on, like what's lighting me up rather than what I'm needing to uh, show or prove. Yeah.
So what else is going on in your life?
The other thing that I think is kind of an interesting thing that we uh, we moved. So we lived in a big house that was 3 stories, 4 bedrooms, and we moved into a small apartment. And the reason for this move in many ways was because, Rachel was makes more money than I do, and her business, she's lifelong, she just awesome work. And I wanted to take over completely our life financially in every which way. And so I was like, we're going to downsize, we're going to simplify, we're going to focus on our health. There's a gym. We're living in an apartment. There's a great gym. We're going to work out. We're going to like get in shape. We're going to focus on our relationship. Focus. I want to focus on my work and streamline our life. And so we made a big move, and it feels great actually to simplify. And I think it's something that I actually had a podcast recently too about this that hasn't been released, but I was speaking about men taking inventory of their life and not putting the mental load on their women and not putting the responsibilities of the home on her. And to me, the only way to really do that is at first you got to simplify, 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 and be minimal and put first things first. And how much of your life do you want to be fucking around with your stuff and dealing with bullshit that's not really your passion? And I want to streamline our life. What is it we're here to do? And just focus on that, like make the main thing and not about all this other crap filled with stuff and filled with things, but really simplify. And you guys did this. You guys were an example to me, actually. I saw that. I saw what you did. You're like, no, you can't stay in your home because you're going to constantly be thinking and worried about kids and cleaning and cooking and all this stuff. So you're like, we're going to hit the road and we're going to be simple. And In some ways, we're living in our own version of that. It's not mobile, but it's streamlined. We call it the hotel because we love living in hotels. And so it's like what we've created is like a suite at a hotel suite. It's on the top story of an apartment, high ceilings, great kitchen, over a great view. And it's a real difference and a real transformation, and feels great to have the vision, to bring the vision to her, to take care of all of our stuff, to go through all of our stuff, to move it, to downsize. We had a couple big sales. Like we're like purging our life, purging our stuff, and focusing on this relationship and sharing this lifestyle, and like really leaning into that being the focus. And she's also writing her, she's a writer too as well, and she's writing a lot more. So putting that focus on her, able to do that. So yeah, no, it feels really good.
It's such a powerful thing when we start putting first things first. And
Hmm.
I mean, my God, how far gone I was in the wrong direction
Hmm.
with all of this in my life. Massive house, all of the stuff, like all of the hobbies, and like you look around and you realize when I wake up every morning, my whole life is already spoken for. I have to work to pay for all of this. I have all of this like stuff to maintain.
Hmm.
All the toys, like they all need, every gas engine needs its oil changes and everything gets dirty and breaks down. And so like there's
Hmm.
this constant fixing and repairing and maintaining and landscaping and lawn to mow and animals to take care of and blah 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 blah. And like, is that really what my life is about? Is that really what my purpose is?
Hmm.
And then like unwinding that with
Hmm.
without just blowing it up, but really winding down my commitments in a way that weren't just walking away,
Hmm.
and cleaning up my life in a way that wasn't just leaving problems for other people. But I'm right with you, man. I mean, we live in a, let me do the quick math here, 320 square foot RV, and we pull it around the country. And, right now we're parked in Golden, Colorado, and we stay here for 2 weeks. And our life is about living. It's not about maintaining, and it's not about fulfilling commitments to anything other than, I'm very, very hesitant to make commitments now.
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
make promises without really considering the sacrifice of making that commitment, especially long-term ones.
Hmm. Yeah, it's life changing to prune, systematically prune your life down to its core elements that support your passions, you know, and letting everything else have, like, either getting rid of it completely or winding them down, simplifying.
Then you really do have the choice to put first things first, to do
Hmm.
what you want to do with your time rather than having a couple of scraps of time to put into what really matters most to you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been very powerful. And we're still, obviously in that process of, we've got the place, we're moving in. So we're in that transitionary period, but it feels great to actually live the life that we envision, make the changes. And, that's something that we both do. We match our life to our ideals, and it feels good. So
What do you have coming up? Like what's going on in your life, in your business? What are what's ahead for Eric?
I feel like the one of the this DSRX, so Conscious Dominance was a podcast that is continuation. But as it's evolved, the brand DSRX, something that Rachel and I really was a joint project to bring her more and more forward and more the voice of the submissive. Um, and she's also has a whole part of her with Arosha, with writing her story more and more, a lifelong submissive and her stories and bringing them forward. And just what it is to be like a conscious sub, so to speak, which just seems like a oxymoron. Uh, but bringing that forth and the evolution of that. So the podcast is really kind of shifting more and more towards a DSRX platform and allowing her to come on. This next season for I would say the next couple months are mainly me bringing forward a lot of really digestible, small, 15-minute, impactful help to men specifically and to women in a dynamic of polarity and conscious dominance, conscious leadership. But then as that sort of winds down of this next season's really leaning in more and more to her being a platform for her to have her voice interwoven with that. And I have a newsletter that comes out every week with that. So I see it as like a parallel. Well, there's just like in our relationship, the man is always there kind of steady and like streamlined. And then the woman has her ebbs and flows and does this and then I'm just steady, kind of keeping this steady energy. And so professionally for me, it's just been this commitment to stay steady, stay steady, stay steady, and then to be a place for her to share her voice and her ideas and to bring that forward. So I see the DSRX evolving with her having a platform more and more to come out forward with that and even bring out an evolution of that podcast. That feels exciting. And I think the other evolution for me is just it's not necessarily something that's professional on this ring, but just professional for my own self is that I've become more and more doing my own, I have my own business, doing remodeling and carpentry and building, and that's actually thriving and doing really well. So I actually am doing this while that's happening. And then I'm also coaching, I coach men as well. So between the podcast, the construction, and then the coaching, it's an incredible balance between the three. I find them to be really, uh, it's almost like head, heart, hands, something that, it's my emotions get fulfilled, my hands get to be utilized, and then I get to use my head to speak about these concepts and keep them forward, which I enjoy doing. I enjoy the intellectual part of it all. And then I enjoy the heart part of connecting with men and supporting them. And then I just love being able to work on a craft that has nothing to do with this, but yet at the same time has everything to do with it. So,
I love hearing that you're back doing that work because I know how much you enjoyed like being able to make beautiful
oh, it's
spaces.
super grounding for me.
Yeah.
I mean, once I hang up here, I'm going to record my own podcast and then I spend, 7 hours. I just go and on my own schedule, just go and work on this house that I'm renovating. And it's yeah, I enjoy that um balance. I feel like it's really fun for me. I actually want to bring more of the construction, somehow talk about that more in my podcasts and I don't know, weave that in. I already do without explicitly naming it, but I find it to be the craft, just the respect of the craft. I find that these relationships are a lot more like a building than we let them on to be. People think that they're so complicated, but there's a real simplicity to a relationship when it's grounded in polarity, when it's grounded in masculine, feminine dynamics. There is a way to go about doing it. There is a method, there is a craft. It's not as chaotic as people think it is. I think a lot of times people think of it as something that's emotionally tumultuous and all this kind of crap. And it, it doesn't at all need to be that when there's explicit respect of the roles of the masculine and feminine roles. It actually lends itself to a respect of the craft of relating.
And it lends itself to what I think we're all after, men especially, which is peace.
Yes.
Peace in ourselves, peace in the relationship, and and a woman who's at peace in herself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that peace doesn't have to be a depolarized like flat line peace. It's like it's an acceptance. It's a level of acceptance where it's not a life that's reactive to everything. It's a life that's met in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a part of what really scares people is getting to that. Just sometimes, well, always to some extent means you've got to clean out all of the mess that
Yeah,
you.
you've got to do your work. You can't be full of shit. And that's the tumultuous part is actually you with you. You can't blame your woman on your issues. You can't blame the relationship. It's your shit that you have to deal with. You have to take responsibility for your life. I think that's where a lot of people, that's the craft that I speak of. The craft really is an inner craft. It's not when you do the inner craft and you do your work, your outside world really will reflect the, like you said, the peace that we all desire.
Yeah, and there is some chaos on the way there, but
Hmm.
some tumult.
Hmm. But we don't, it's not a problem. You can see where it fits,
Mhm.
it's not random. And I think I truly feel like the feminine spirit. I mean, Jordan Peterson says it really well, and he gets in trouble for saying it. But to me, the feminine is chaotic. It is by nature. I wouldn't want it any other way. And I think that the masculine is the form. And how do you create a balance between chaos and order? To me, I have a tattooed on my arm. Literally have a tattoo that says chaotic bliss. It's right here, right there. It says chaotic bliss. And when you find the right balance between chaos and order, you get bliss. And it's not about squelching the chaos. You want to turn the fire up. This is, in the myths, you have like Kali and these feminine, fiery, passionate, chaotic energies. But you also have these men, these gods, these Jupiter and these Zeus and these powerful energies. And in the myths, there's always the stories of kind of the balance between all these energies. It's dynamic, it's alive. It's never like just like tranquil. So when I say there's peace, it's a dynamic peace. I mean, there's volume and there's life force and energy in Rachel and pushing and push up, but it's never like pushing against me. It's like a personal attack or a manipulation. None of that bullshit. It's completely her own energy of wanting to express and to be into life and life force energy. And it's this, and my job is to listen and to hold space and to hold presence and to witness and then to prune and to be like, not now, this or this.
Yeah, and there's two approaches that we can take to that. That one of them is like where we try to take that chaos and apply order to it by containing it in a way that it controls it,
Hmm.
limits it, keeps it down, keeps it from getting too big.
Hmm.
And the way that I've chosen in my relationship and the way that I encourage men to choose because it's the more exciting, alive, real way to go about this as far as I'm concerned, which is I want to set that chaos free and
Hmm.
just be out with her in the chaos. I will be offering protection. I will be steering and guiding that energy,
Hmm.
making sure that we are going in the direction of what we value.
Hmm.
She brings an equal amount to that relationship, by providing the energy. That's the source energy of the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos is the the everything from which everything comes. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I encourage men to do is bring that chaos out and let it thrive, let it live. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you have a relationship that's trusting, that's devoted, then you can steer and guide and play with that energy,
Mm-hmm.
having to limit it, control it, and be afraid of it.
Right. You don't make it smaller. You make it bigger. What is it to lead and to own without diminishing, without squelching, but to actually make it
Set it
more and more alive,
set it free.
set it free. Yeah, I want her to feel freer than she's ever felt. And she does. And it's powerful. And it just can't help but ground you when you know that you're responsible for that.
Eric, it
Yeah.
has been so damn good to have you back on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you, Andrew. It's always been I feel like our relationship, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Like, I really want to give you props for reaching out to me and inviting me to do that podcast with you at the beginning there. And this whole journey, my whole life has been transformed because of our relationship, that podcast, my own relationship, all of it. I mean, I had natural inclinations to all this, but I didn't know the craft. I didn't know how to go about making it a daily practice and that my life could be what it is. So I want to thank you publicly for all that you do and putting yourself out there too, and for having me on here. So thank you.
I couldn't help you find anything that wasn't already yours and already in you. And I think you deserve all of the credit for being willing to challenge yourself in the way that most men are really terrified to actually challenge themselves. So I'm proud of you and I'm proud of what you are doing and how you're going about and building everything you're building now with DSRX and with conscious dominance. And
Hmm.
I, I give you a hell of a lot of credit for all of it. So I'm proud of you and it's been really good to have you back on here.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone listening. Thanks for listening, and thanks for being on this journey with both of us.
And you can check the show notes. We'll have links for everywhere you can find Eric for coaching, for his podcast, and all of his work. So check our show notes for that.
Thank you, Andrew.
We'll see you next time.